Michael Saylor just destroyed the quantum threat narrative, and nobody's talking about it. For years, quantum computing has been positioned as the ultimate kill shot for Bitcoin. The boogeyman that would crack the code, expose wallets, and send the whole system crashing down. Scary story, right? Wrong. Sitting down with Natalie Brunell, Saylor didn't just push back. He dismantled the entire myth, piece by piece. And once you hear his breakdown, you'll never look at the quantum Armageddon argument the same way again. If you've ever had that quiet fear in the back of your mind, what if quantum computing actually breaks Bitcoin? This video is for you. Because by the end, you won't just feel better. You'll have the knowledge to shut down that argument every single time someone brings it up. The quantum threat? It's FUD, and we're about to prove it.
Well, the consensus of the cybersecurity community, broadly held, is that quantum risk, if it exists, is more than 10 years out. It's not this decade thing. Whether or not there will be a quantum threat or a quantum risk is a question that is yet to be decided, but there's certainly no consensus that there is any threat right now, or that there will be a threat materializing anytime soon. Should a quantum risk materialize, at that point, then you're going to see an upgrade in the software that runs the global banking system, the global internet, consumer devices, all the crypto networks, the Bitcoin network, everything digital, the AI networks, all of those networks that we rely on today, whether they're governmental or financial or consumer or defense related, they're going to get upgraded with post-quantum resistant cryptography. The nodes will upgrade, the hardware will upgrade, the wallets will upgrade, the exchanges will upgrade. How will they upgrade? Well, wait 10 years, there will be global consensus about the best way to deal with it. There is no global consensus right now because there isn't a credible threat right now, right? So why do I not worry about it? Well, because everybody with anything at stake, whether it's Google or Microsoft or Apple or Coinbase or BlackRock or Strategy or the US government or the Russian government or the EU government or the Chinese government or JP Morgan or Morgan Stanley, they all have to deal with the same issue. We all have digital systems that would be at risk if there was a credible quantum threat. So I think that the crypto security community will be the first, to perceive the threat and to react to the threat, and they'll be leading the way. We have announced a Bitcoin security program. Coinbase obviously has a security program. In fact, a lot of the money that I contribute early to the Bitcoin core dev, to the Bitcoin development process was actually to Bitcoin security programs. Like the MIT Bitcoin security program. So I think that all of us that are large Bitcoin holders or users or in the industry, we know that security of the network is paramount. But I don't actually think that the quantum narrative is the greatest security threat to Bitcoin right now. I don't think it has been. People joke they've been concerned and talking about it every 2 years for the past 15 years. The number of debates about what's good for Bitcoin, are mind-numbing, and there are many of them. They will continue. Quantum will be one. It used to be, there's a debate, well, the Chinese they'll control all the mining. Then it's like the Chinese control the mining equipment. Oh, there might be a backdoor in the mining equipment. Oh no, the Chinese banned Bitcoin mining. Chinese banned Bitcoin mining equipment. They don't, Chinese don't like Bitcoin anymore. It's like the debates, they vary from there's a risk to, oh no, there isn't a risk. Oh, if there, why don't the Chinese like Bitcoin? Right, and at some point it gets silly because it's 100 of them. I would say at this point, the reason we're talking about quantum is because all of the other risk did not materialize. A decade ago, people fought the block size wars. The entire block size wars, there's books written about it, you can go back. And the narrative was Bitcoin will fail because it doesn't have enough bandwidth. Okay? And people fought bitterly over this. And a few days ago, I posted a screenshot, of Clark Moody's dashboard, and it showed that the fee structure of Bitcoin was 1 sat per V-byte for instantaneous performance. 1 sat, 1 sat, 1 sat, 1 sat. In essence, there is no bandwidth problem in the Bitcoin network. A decade after the block size wars, people fought and died over that narrative. It was a non-issue. Eventually, the free market solved the problem, right? And at the end of the day, you always have this dynamic between the alarmist, the ambitious opportunist, or the idealist out there, if you want to be charitable, the idealistic intellectuals. You could call them that. You could call them the ambitious opportunist, if you like. They posit, Bitcoin will boil the oceans. Bitcoin will fail because you can't self-custody. Bitcoin will fail because of bandwidth. Bitcoin will fail, blah, blah, blah. And then, this follows, it pops up as, we can't use nuclear energy. It'll blow up the world. We can't have nuclear power. We're going to boil the oceans. They're climate alarmists. They're whatever alarmists. There's 150 narratives that people spin up, and every one of them is a way to accumulate, to glean interest and engagement. I want influence, or I want capital, or I want power. And so it's very important that we vaccinate, every 3-year-old on Earth at the cost of $10,000 a vaccine shot against yo-yo disease, the one that I just found that hypothetically might, be an issue. And so please give me $100 billion and let's declare martial law and let's make it, illegal for parents not to do this because I'm here to save the world. And so it's this God complex or intellectual save the world context. It's been going on for thousands of years, Natalie. It's in the political process and the crypto process and the Bitcoin process. So the fact of the matter is, none of the narratives that were going to stop Bitcoin or threaten Bitcoin ever panned out. They all turned out to be incorrect. The scalability, we have to stop spam. Oh, no, we didn't. We have to create smart contracts to create scam. No, we don't. We have to double the block size. No, we didn't. The miners are going to go bankrupt. No, they didn't. No one will mine Bitcoin. Yes, they will. The Chinese will stop it. Yes, they did. No, they didn't. Yes, they did. No, they didn't. They need to endorse it. They can't endorse it, right? It needs to be private. No, it doesn't, right? All of these things, they're all narratives. It used too much energy. No, it didn't. It'll boil the ocean. It didn't. Quantum will hack it. No, it won't, right? And what is it that people are missing here? Well, first of all, 99 out of 100 of these narratives, they benefit the ambitious opportunists because now they become famous. Al Gore makes hundreds of millions of dollars preaching that the climate is going to collapse, right? And 25 years later, it didn't happen. Somebody gets rich. ESG worked, but it didn't happen. But the point is, if I wasn't preaching it, how am I getting rich, right? So the point is, it's a business. So what you have is this economic and political amplification of alarmist narratives because it benefits the politician, it benefits the entrepreneur, it benefits those that have a will to money or power, right? And how am I supposed to get rich if I don't? We basically at one point we decided that you had to stand 6 feet away from each other and wear a mask, and the government needed to buy $100 billion of masks, and if you didn't wear the mask, you're going to jail. And it's like someone sold the masks, right? And so there is a very powerful feedback with these narratives. And once you realize that 99 out of 100 narratives are just a way for someone to accumulate money and power, and you ought to be skeptical of those narratives. And the last point, the famous president said it. He said, you see 10 problems driving down the road at you, 9 of them are going to drive themselves into a ditch before they get to you. Right? And so how do I get rich, Natalie? Well, I convince you that it's possible that you're going to trip on a rock and break your leg and not be able to work. And so I sell you trip on a rock insurance. What's that cost? That's going to cost you 1% of your annual income, the trip on a rock insurance. And then someone else comes along and says, well, you might, get a sneezing attack, Natalie, and I'm going to sell you sneezing attack insurance. And what's that going to cost you? That's going to cost you 1%. Because if you get the sneezing attack thing, then you won't be able to work. And so another guy comes along and he convinces you that, there's a hypothetical chance that your children will have autism. And so we're going to sell you, the autism vaccine, whatever, and that'll cost you 2%. And then someone else comes along and they're like, well, it's quite possible that you'll be driving the car and something will happen and you'll wreck the car and you won't be able to work again. So here's vocational insurance for driving of the car. And I come up with 100 possible things. And each of them is 0.01% likely. And the collective, all of them, is 1% likely to happen to you. But I sell you insurance that sucks up 100% of your income. So if you insure for every one of these parade of horribles, every hypothetical possible thing, you're bankrupt. So you are 100% likely to be bankrupt because you bought insurance against 100 things that were 1% likely to happen. And by the way, if you had bought insurance against none of them, a decade would have gone by and you'd be 1% likely to have one of them, and you would have just upgraded your iPhone software and the problem would have gone away. And it's but the person that's selling you the insurance isn't going to make $1 billion if you just wait 10 years and upgrade your iPhone software and it goes away. How am I supposed to get rich on that? How am I supposed to get elected to be governor of a state if I don't spin up a narrative that is a doom narrative? And so the danger is when anything gets weaponized by an entrepreneur, it's I want to raise money so I can hire a bunch of quantum-resistant developers. Or I want you to sell Bitcoin and buy quantum-resistant yo-yo coin. Or I want to be elected mayor, and the problem is that there's hypothetically radioactive something, in 10 years, the drinking water will be radioactive if we let nuclear reactors get built somewhere in the state 5 years from now, and that's why you should give me all of your money so I can be elected mayor now, so I can pass a law to prevent the hypothetical problem 8,700 years from now. And of course, what you see, of course, is when you have enough of these issues, I've had lawyers say, well, you can't do that because hypothetically in 15 years, after 15 appeals, there might be, a quasi liability if you were to do this and that and the other thing. I'm like, well, we're going to go out of business next month if we do what you said. But in 15 years, hypothetically, there's a 0.01% chance that we might have to pay 0.01% of our money to solve the problem. But they're like, oh, well, I guess if you look at it that way, then I guess you're right. It's and that is pretty much the legalistic view. And so politicians tend to be lawyers, idealistic intellectuals tend to be thinking that way, ambitious opportunists think that way. I can basically point to the fall of the British Empire. I can point to the fall of a whole bunch of states. I can point to Easter Island. I can show you the fall of the Roman Empire, the fall of the Carthaginian Empire. Every great city, every great mercantile network, every great empire, every great corporation, it all starts to collapse at the point that someone's like, well, out of an abundance of caution, maybe we need to prevent this or we need to do that, right? And I would say this entire quantum fear is just the latest quantum FUD because there's nothing else to talk about. And I can no longer raise money by saying that Bitcoin needs to be more scalable or have smart contracts or whatever. So this is the only way to be relevant and get attention. And so, when this one falls, someone will say, well, like at some point, we're going to upgrade to nanobots in the head and hollow bands, and Bitcoin's not hollow band nanobot ready. And we're going to need to invest a lot of money in, hollow band nanobot chains because, otherwise your Bitcoin's going to be worthless. And it's like, someone will say it, I guarantee it, because that's the story of humanity since time immemorial. And ultimately, you're either going to have a constructive, optimistic view, which is, something will happen and we'll just take advantage, upgrade the software or upgrade the network to take advantage of the new technology, and we'll all be richer and happier and live happily ever after. That's one view. Or something's going to happen and we're just too stupid to figure out how to react to it, and we're just going to lose everything. And so therefore, I should just give all my money to this ambitious opportunist, who's preaching that the world's going to end. Why don't I just give all my money to them because I'm too stupid? And it's like it's silly, but it's predictable. And what I would say is, the back of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, right? It's like, don't panic. At the end of the day, lots of things will happen in the future. The human race will react to the things. The people that chose to put their money at a bank in cyberspace, they will probably upgrade the hardware and the software and the methodologies that protect the bank in cyberspace when they feel they need to. Until that time, there's 100 other things. You're probably better off to use that bandwidth worrying about, look both ways when you cross the street, because you don't want to be that egghead intellectual that walks in front of a truck because they're worried about the 0.01% likely quantum threat that would be easily deflected with the iPhone update.